Hi guys, I'm Chord, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll show you how to make beat for Young Metro by MetroBoomin, Future and The Weeknd. This beat was made by MetroBoomin, Mike Dean, David and Ailey and AC. Before starting this breakdown, I want to apologize to Yahoo for not uploading videos in the last 6 months. As you may know, I also have another channel, so it's quite difficult to manage both and to also manage my career as a music producer. So sometimes I don't really have time to create remakes. But now I'm back, I will try to focus more on this channel. I will try to not focus on perfectionism, because as you may have noticed from my channel, I really try to create perfect remakes, but sometimes you need to understand that you can't always nail the perfect sound and always find the perfect preset. So I will try to focus more on creating remakes instead of perfectionism. I really want to thank you all for the support, even if you didn't upload any video. The support was crazy, a lot of people are appreciating my remakes, and that's what I like about my job. So I'm really glad that I can help someone with my work. So now let's start with this breakdown. Obviously this is not a 100% perfect remake. I think it's quite impossible to recreate the sample that was used in the first part. I think this sample was made by David and Ailey, because they are a sample maker duo from Germany and they are signed to Metro, so they work a lot together. And then this section was made probably by Mike Dean, because as you can see there are a lot of synths involved. So the first sound is a violin, is the main layer of this sample. I can't really break down all the layers of the sample because there is the drums, there is the voice, the violin is the main element that you can hear, so the other elements that are probably keys, pads or atmosphere sounds are really low in the mix, so you can't really hear them. And as always, it's not that easy to recreate a violin sound because they may have recorded it, and even if you try to find a similar preset, there are like 1,000 of banks for context and 1,000 of VSTs, so it's always difficult to find a similar sounding violin. In this case, I'm using the sustained vibrato Chris Ain violin from Contact. It's similar, but it's not perfect. And then I'm layering it with this preset from Xenology, and then this other Contact violin from the orchestra. So this is the main layer, and then the other two are just for atmosphere. So they're adding a little bit of room. The violin is just playing 3 notes, and there is also this other note in the background to create more atmosphere. This melody is really simple. We are in the F sharp minor scale, and in this case they're using the notes that are related to the first chord. So we have the root note, the third, and then the sus2, so the suspended 2. And here we also have the 5th, 1 octave down, to add more body to the melody. So this layer is really simple. I didn't use a lot of EQing. I'm just using this sketch cassette to give the sample a more vintage vibe. And then I have a little bit of compression. In the background, then we have the keys, synths, and they're playing these chords, but I'm not sure, obviously, because you can't really hear these synths. Atmosphere in the background, and I'm using this e-piano from Omnisphere from Unclean Machine. It's a external blank from Spectrasonics, and then I made this preset from Serum, and it's a really simple sine with a little bit of harmonics. And I'm just playing these chords. So we have the F sharp minor chord. This is the tonic chord of the scale, so the first chord. At the start I'm playing it with a sus2, and then I'm playing the classic third, so this is the triad. Then I'm playing the sus2, so this is the F sharp sus2 chord, and then at the end they're using the 7th chord of the scale. So the 7th chord is this one, is the E major chord, but in this case I think they're using the 6th instead of the 5th, so the C sharp instead of the B, to create this more tension chord at the end. And as you can see, this is actually the 5th chord of the scale, the C sharp minor chord. But as you can see on the lowest layer of the melody, that in this case is a cello from BBC, I'm using the tremolo articulation. They're using the 7th note of the scale as the bass note for this chord. So I think this could be the 7th chord, or maybe just the 5th chord with an inversion of the 3rd. So this is how it sounds. And then we just have the sub layer. In this case, I made a simple sub in Serum. And it's just playing the same notes. Then we have the drums, a really simple drum, just a snare on the third. Simple hi-hats. This is not the classic two-step hi-hats, it's the double of the two-step, because as you can see the BPM is 112, so the two-step is quite slow at this BPM, so Metro always use this type of hi-hats to give more movement to the beat. And then we have a simple crash on the 1, and then this simple kick pattern. Gunshot, and then these zaps. So as you can see, the drums is pretty simple. Then I made this accent using Serum. I think it's like a sine bell. So it's a really simple preset. I'm just using this sine wave with these 2 harmonics and a little bit of filter, EQ and a lot of reverb. And I'm playing these notes here. And what's changing from the intro to the first verse is just the bass and this accent. As you can see, the bass is the same, but it's using this legato slide at the end. Then for the second part of the verse, I think they're using the same sample as the start, but they're stretching it to make it 2 times faster. So it sounds like this. And then they're also using the same sample as a layer 1 octave higher here. As you can hear, it almost sounds like a vocal. So this is how it sounds. So let's move on to the bridge. In the bridge, I think they're also using the same sample in the background. I think they're using more filters. And then I'm also using this texture from Omnisphere. It's not a texture, it's just a string. I'm playing pretty much the same notes because it's the first chord. And I'm just using this as a layer to create atmosphere in the background. Because the main elements of this bridge are these synths. So we have this synth brass. I made it using Serum, is a really classic preset. So we have a saw wave, and I also use this other waveform for a little bit of atmosphere in background. 5 voices and detune to create this larger feeling. Then a little bit of flanger, chorus, reverb to create movement. And then the LFO that is set as an envelope, controlling the cutoff filter to create this opening and closing of the filter that is giving this brassy feeling. So the most important part is the shifting of the attack. The chords are pretty much the same, so they're using the first chord, the 7th chord, and then the first chord again. They're just using a different inversion. And I think they're also playing these chords on another synth or another pad. So I've used this other preset from the OBX, the reed organ. I'm also controlling the filter for this one. And then I'm also playing these low notes on another synth. This synth is pretty much just a texture in the background to accentuate these 2 notes. And then we have the bass. I made a simple preset in Serum. We are using 2 saw waves on 2 different octaves, 5 unison, 3 unison. The most important part is just the detune. Then we have the sub, even if I cut the lows on the synth, because then we have the sub coming back on the second part of the bridge. So the sub here is not really important. And then we have the noise, and as always the LFO set as an envelope, doing the same thing as the other synth. So it's controlling the filter cutoff. This is really important to create the plucky attack. On this bass, they're playing the F sharp, the D and the E. So the 1st, the 6th and the 7th note of the scale. This is a really classic progression in trap music. Then, as I've said, on the second part of the bridge, we also have the sub bass replaying the same notes. And then I think we also have this other layer of organs. I'm using this preset from the Moog, and I'm playing the same chords but an octave higher. And then I also use this pluck that I also made from Serum. As you can see, the sound design is pretty much the same as the main synth. I'm using a saw wave and this narrow square wave on 2 different octaves and with a little bit of fine tuning. Detune, cutoff, controlled by the LFO1, set as an envelope, hyper, distortion, a quarter delay, reverb. They are just playing this note as an accent. So this is the full result for the bridge. For the second verse, they're using the same sample, but this time the main section is the higher octave sample. And then we have the lower octave 2 times faster. Then we have the same bridge as the first part. It's a little bit different. We have this solo lead, and then they're also filtering the main synths. I also added another synth. It's always an organ. I made this really simple preset using these 3 harmonics on a sine wave and a saw wave, a little bit of unison, detune, noise, a resonance with a cutoff, and then a little bit of hyper, chorus, EQing and reverb, and then playing the same chord. The main synths are filtered in this way. And then we have the solo lead, that is a classic soul lead, so it's a saw wave with 5 voices and 0.05 detune. The progression is the same, so it's the 1, 6, 7, and most of the time is playing around the 5th and the root note of the main chord, so the F sharp minor chord, the first chord of the scale, and then it's just moving around the suspended 2, 3rd, suspended 4, at the end it's also using a 7, and then the last synth that I used is this Moog bass, just playing the same notes. In this case I'm boosting a lot of the bass and the sub. I'm using the MB, so I think the MB stands for Moog bass, and I have sub sign, a lot of noise, a lot of distortion, and it's just playing the same notes. And at the end we also have the sub bass coming back in, and they're playing the same notes with some minor changes. So this is the final bridge. So that's all for Young Metro. Hope you like this remake. As always, I will leave all my link in the description if you want to support me. I have a Patreon page where I upload all the FLPs from my remakes, Instagram if you want to follow me, and Beatstars if you want to check out my beats or drum kits. Bye and see you in the next video.